Willie Nelson has never pretended to have all the answers, but he has always lived by one guiding principle: focus on the present. His song philosophy, often summed up as delete and fast forward, reflects a lifetime of learning that dwelling on the past or fearing the future robs meaning from the moment at hand. Willie has spoken openly about choosing not to worry, not because life is easy, but because worry has never solved anything for him. At 92, that mindset is not optimism for show, it is survival. He believes peace comes from accepting what cannot be changed and acting only where control exists. That approach has shaped his longevity, allowing him to face aging, uncertainty, and hardship with a calm that feels earned rather than forced. A legend facing his own mortality. For decades, fans believed Willie Nelson would simply go on forever, carried by music, charm, and sheer willpower. Age has gently but firmly corrected that illusion. Today, Willie moves more slowly, rests more often, and listens closely to his body in ways he never had to before. The man who once toured relentlessly now measures each performance carefully, conserving energy and protecting his health. This shift has not dimmed his spirit, but it has narrowed his world, making every appearance more intentional. Behind the familiar braids and warm smile is a man fully aware of his limits. Rather than resisting them, Willie has chosen to adapt, proving that strength in later life often comes from adjustment, not defiance. The physical cost of a hard-lived life. Willie Nelson has never hidden the fact that he lived hard for many years, especially when it came to his lungs. From his youth through much of his career, smoking was part of his routine, his image, and his culture. Over time, that lifestyle left lasting consequences, making breathing more difficult and stamina harder to maintain. In recent years, these challenges have directly affected his ability to tour, forcing cancellations and longer recovery periods. Willie has spoken about this reality with rare honesty, acknowledging that some damage cannot be undone. Yet he also emphasizes personal responsibility, noting that he takes far better care of himself now than he once did. It is a quiet reckoning, not filled with regret, but with acceptance. Letting go of a long-held ritual. Perhaps the most symbolic change in Willie Nelson's life came when he was forced to give up smoking entirely. For a man whose public identity had long been intertwined with that habit, the decision was deeply personal. It was not about image or public pressure. It was about necessity. Willie has explained that his body made the choice for him, making continued smoking impossible. Adjusting was not easy. Rituals that had been part of his creative process for decades suddenly disappeared, leaving emotional as well as physical gaps. He adapted by finding alternatives that fit within his health limits, but those close to him acknowledge it was still a loss. Giving it up marked the end of an era, even for Willie himself. Performing through pain and limitations. Health challenges for Willie Nelson extend beyond his lungs. Chronic pain, age-related stiffness, and long-standing conditions have reshaped how he performs. Where he once commanded the stage with constant movement, he now often plays seated, leaning into his guitar as both instrument and support. His legendary guitar, Trigger, has become more than a symbol. It is a physical anchor. Each performance is carefully planned, with rest built in and close attention from his team. Fans may not notice the effort from their seats, but behind the scenes, every song takes calculation. Still, Willie shows up when he can, not out of obligation, but because music remains his strongest connection to life. Grief that never fully leaves. Among all the hardships Willie Nelson has faced, loss has left the deepest mark. He has outlived many friends, collaborators, and members of his extended musical family. Each absence leaves a quiet space that cannot be filled. In interviews, Willie has spoken about the pain of losing his son, describing it as a loss that reshaped everything else that followed. Compared to that, other hardships felt survivable. On stage, his grief appears subtly, in pauses between songs or softened delivery. He does not dramatize sorrow, he carries it. Age has placed him in constant conversation with memory, and each performance becomes both tribute and farewell. Music as a way to keep going. Despite physical decline and emotional weight, Willie Nelson continues to create and perform because music remains his refuge. It gives structure to his days and meaning to his efforts. Even when touring becomes difficult, he records, collaborates, and writes, staying connected to the craft that defined his life. Music allows him to honor those he has lost, to speak truths without explanation, and to remain present. For Willie, playing is not about maintaining relevance or chasing applause. It is about staying engaged with the world while he still can. Every song becomes a conversation with the moment, echoing his belief that the present is the only place life truly happens. Wisdom earned through time. What Willie Nelson offers now is not rebellion or excess, but perspective. He speaks about humanity with clarity, emphasizing how similar people are beneath surface differences. That understanding comes from decades of travel, hardship, and connection. Age has stripped away illusion but left compassion intact. Willie no longer rushes to prove anything. He observes, reflects, and shares what he has learned, often with humor and humility. His refusal to dwell on fear or worry is not denial, it is discipline. He chooses peace because he knows how fragile time is. That wisdom, shaped by mistakes and endurance, may be his most enduring legacy. A legacy, still in motion. At 92, Willie Nelson stands at a rare crossroads, both celebrated and vulnerable, legendary yet unmistakably human. His body has slowed, his circle has grown smaller, but his voice still carries meaning. He continues not because he must, but because he believes in living fully where he stands. Willie's life now reflects the philosophy he has preached for years. Let go of what you cannot change, act where you can, and stay rooted in the now. Whether or not the road grows shorter, his presence remains powerful. In choosing honesty over illusion and adaptation over surrender, Willie Nelson shows that longevity is not about resisting time, but learning how to live with it.